I think a person that would get smushed by a steam stack if the Titanic was modern day, it would be like an influencer.
It'd be like Addison Rae.
she's like, and everyone's like, girl, move, she's on live, and they're like, girl, move, and she's like,
it's coming behind you.
Yeah.
This is a White Star Line prepaid call from
Iceberg, right ahead!
It's been over 100 years since the Titanic sunk into the North Atlantic Ocean.
It's a pretty open and shut case. The ship hit an iceberg, case closed.
But what aren't they telling us? What if two comedians tried to solve what really happened?
This is Truthtanic.
Hello. Ahoy, matey. Ahoy. Chug chug, Titanic. Chug chug. Chug chug. Welcome to the Truthtanic podcast.
Where we, Carley and Blair, that's me, and Carley.
I'm Carley.
That's Carley. I'm Blair.
I just like in the beginning of a podcast, it's good to be like, and this is the name of this voice.
This is the name. This voice that isn't mine is Carley. The voice that is mine is me, Blair. So hope that's clear. We are back. Episode 2 of Discovering the Truth of the Titanic.
Yes, and I have a new theory already.
Okay, incredible.
Basically, if you're new to this podcast, every single week we go through a different element of the Titanic. One of us will lead the other through this element. And then at the end, we're basically doing a true crime podcast here with the Titanic.
Yeah.
We want to figure out what really happened.
Yes.
And I have a new theory.
Okay.
And maybe it's because, we're getting into fall a little bit.
Yeah, I love fall.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a fall bitch.
I know. It's like, what can I say?
I woke up in the middle of the night craving a pumpkin spice latte and could not get back to sleep. What do you do?
Okay.
What do you do?
Pumpkin spice latte is really good. Starbucks also does pumpkin cream cold brew.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes.
It's like, have you ever been on the beach and you've just seen that kind of scummy foam that gets pushed up onto the sand from the water?
Yeah.
And you've been like, I want to eat that, but I know it will kill me. I'll get syphilis or the bends from that, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
That's their foam, but it tastes delicious.
Oh, yeah.
It's like as soon as somebody invents edible Play-Doh, they're going to be a billionaire because I want to put that in my mouth.
I feel like they should have edible Play-Doh.
Yeah.
I remember eating Play-Doh. My mom would make me Play-Doh that you could eat because I couldn't not put it in my mouth.
Yeah, well, is there something about it? Same thing as those Orbeez.
Yes.
Those little I want to chow down, and I know that those will kill you.
I've been talking about this a lot recently, but I have such a need to put things in my mouth and chew them.
Yeah.
And then someone to me very genuinely was like, you could get a fidget toy that you could chew on.
Oh no.
I was like, that's the last thing I want to do at a party. Oh, where's my chew toy?
Yeah, where's my teething ring?
Yeah. Where's my piece of plastic that I chomp?
Yeah, I would introduce you to my friend Blair, but she's chewing on her plastic keys.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Oh yeah, I think I'm really gonna get laid tonight chewing on my toy. I'd be like, where's my chew? No, I can't. I was like,
where's my pacifier?
Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna fight off the urge.
Whenever I was in university, I do have, and again, this will be taken extremely out of context, but I do have an oral fixation of sorts.
Same.
Where it's if I'm doing something with my mouth, then I can focus. If I'm sucking cock in lecture, I'm getting an A. So what I would do in university was I would suck the professor's cock and it would work out. Sure. But I'd always bring
patriarchy.
Up tea or some kind of thing to just drink. Mm-hmm. And because I had that to do, I could focus. But if there's nothing to drink, I can't focus. That's why I have a tea right now. Because if I don't have something to do with my mouth.
If I don't have something to do with my mouth and my hands, I will go actually physically insane. My body will shake and I will freak out.
I did because I grew up in America.
Ooh, crazy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And they have a thing that's called the butter.
The butter.
Yeah,
it's called butter and choose some butter.
This thing called butter. Hasn't hit the rest of the world yet.
No, it's
called the Buddy Poppy Speech Competition. And it's basically you have to write a speech about how great veterans are.
Incredible.
Yeah. And then you get graded on it. It's like a competitive speech kind of thing.
Oh, were we talking about this last week
Yes,
too?
they have it in Canada as well.
But it's not about veterans.
Yeah, you can write about anything. In America, you gotta write about the veterans.
In Canada, you can write about the Titanic.
Yes. And I got told a bunch my speech was good, but what I do with my hands is I put one of my fingernails under the other one and I do that. And now if you ever look at a photo of me on stage or whatever, one of my hands will just have my thumbnail under my pointer fingernail. And I never noticed I did that, but I
seen
got
you do
told
that.
to do, like, I have been told I do this. And I think it is the same thing of like doing something with the hands where it's like, if I put my hands down by my side for too long, it feels like they rut, get full of blood, and then they get prickly. But if I'm like doing something with them,
Then your
it's
blood
fine.
keeps flowing.
Exactly.
I feel the same way. Like I'm kind of constantly moving in a
Yeah.
very like, I'm always just kind of like vibrating. But I knew this girl, we did theater together and she's great. She does theater professionally now. She's very cool. I like her a lot.
Her name's Leah Michelle.
Her name's Leah Michelle from Glee. But no, when she would sing, her eyebrows would just like move. Like her eyebrows would go up and down and like this. It was crazy. And she knew she'd do it. And she was like, she worked for years to get her eyebrows to stop doing that. And I was like,
that is so hard. And it also makes you so like insecure about what your face is doing.
I know.
I used to do that whenever I would audition. I'd blink like 900 times. Like I'm doing it now because I'm thinking about it, where I would like just blink over and over again.
Yeah.
And then the only thing to counteract it is I could just not blink at all. So I wasn't booking.
staring.
Let's say that. Wasn't booking. I looked insane.
Well, what is in Scott Pilgrim? They don't blink.
Really?
Yeah, because they wanted to make it look like a
comic book.
And so they told the actors to like never blink. And if you watch it, they like don't
That's really
blink.
cool.
Isn't that
and
cool?
that was also filmed at Casa Loma.
Film at Casa Loma. You could have been in it.
You could have.
Make a sequel.
They also filmed the Rocky Horror reboot at Casa Loma. Have you seen the Rocky Horror reboot?
I have not.
Not to sound like a pervert. Victoria Justice is Janet, and her boobs look amazing.
No, that's not.
Our producer Rob is nodding his head
No,
because
yeah.
it's like distract. Her boobs look great.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Wow.
And it's okay if a woman objectifies a woman.
That's actually okay. That's empowering.
That's actually empowerment, and you're welcome.
Sometimes I feel like when people talk about boobs, I'm like, because I was saying like, I'm not going to say that, but like I had like a boob theory the other day, and I was talking about it at a barbecue.
Because you're a top boob theorist.
I was a top boob theorist. Well, I was just saying like sometimes boobs change size and shape, and I think it's normal.
Yeah.
And I was saying that like I'm going through, my boobs are changing size and shape.
Yeah.
And it's making me have some clothes fit issues.
Yeah.
And people were looking at me like I was fucking crazy.
You
and
were anamorphing.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not a perv for saying that like
No, that's
anything
medical.
about boobs.
Like what you're saying is
I'm
medical.
saying a medical. I'm actually like kind of being a doctor
Like
at this
they didn't want you
barbecue
to bring
right
up
now.
boobs?
They didn't want me to bring up boobs. Like it was just like, okay, sorry. Like I just won't look at your boobs. And then my friend was telling the story. She was just like, oh yeah, my friend got a breast reduction surgery and we were hanging out and I looked at her and she was like, oh, did you notice my boobs got like 5 sizes smaller? And she was like, no, but now I do. I was like, you bullshit.
I think
would notice.
because as like a queer woman, I will say, because nobody really expected me to be gay, like I was pretty undercover. I'm saying that. Everyone I went to high school, it's like, okay.
No, me too. I'm like, oh, I really
I was like,
passed
no one
as
really,
straight.
nobody really knew. I feel like as a queer woman, you never have to learn to not look at people's boobs because nobody's looking at you looking at boobs. If you're a man and you're looking at people's boobs, people are like, you're a pervert. I never got that skill. So if I have a friend whose boobs are out, I can't stop.
It's also just
I'll be like, yeah, like I can't, like it's almost like it's compulsive.
well, it's also like, you know, when you're young, like even now I'm just like, there are so many different kinds of boobs and you only really see like one on TV.
Exactly.
So it's just like, I want to, like, I remember when Orange is the New Black came out and there were like a bunch of different ladies with like different boobs in the shower scenes. And I was like, this is just so interesting.
Yes. Obviously,
You
I know
know?
that like being like, I'm skinny is like, shut up. But whenever I see small boobs on TV, I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think
you
that
for
would have
the
done me a lot of
representation.
good as a child to be like, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your
so the
Titanic theory? Does it involve
the
boobs?
Titanic would have a massive wreck.
Yeah, I think so.
Massive.
Well, I think she'd have 4 boobs because
Of the airtight pockets?
Of the airtight pockets. Her boobs. I was going to say the steam stacks.
Oh.
I feel like are kind of, because I feel like that's, the Titanic itself, we'll get into this, but like is very, I think, very phallic.
I 100% agree.
I think it's very like, we're going to make these boats so ginormous and huge
Totally.
because we are better than other people. I'm
Because
like,
we're men.
That's very, yeah. So if the boat is the penis, then the steam stacks are the boobs. I think. That makes sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it does
The
not.
boat is a penis and then the steam stacks are the boobs?
Yeah, I think so. Because men love penises and boobs. They love their own penises.
They do.
Not other penises.
No, they would.
That's
They would
gay.
never do that.
But
How many? Okay,
yeah.
I have a question.
If a man
'Cause-
could have put a penis on a boob,
question
boob on
for
a
you to
penis,
just kind of give me a rough estimate.
Okay.
So we're talking about kind of notable passengers and crew lists.
Oh, yes.
Today about the Titanic.
The crew.
On the Titanic, what percentage of people do you think were gay?
Oh, okay. I was thinking about this actually in context of my dad's siblings.
50%.
50%?
But there's a lot of sailors known to be gay.
Oh, that's true. I would say, well, because like, isn't the estimate that like 1 in 5 people are queer?
Yeah.
So
I heard 1 in 3.
1 in 3?
Let me look up what the stat is.
You know what? Well, because you have to think like 1 in 5, I feel like are like out. And now that everyone's like, you know, no one really closets anymore. Because I feel like,
except for Harry Styles.
Except for Harry Styles.
No. I just looked up how much is gay. That's not just gay.
50% of the people on the Titanic were gay?
Well, I just thought the statistic would be that 50% of people are gay.
50% of people are gay. Well, I think because, you know, there's a lot more bisexuals now, I feel like.
I'm trying to find that. Okay, yeah, this is 10% of the population gay.
10% of the
but
population.
That's gay. I also want to know queer.
Yeah, exactly. Like queer in general, I want to say 1 in 5. And then, yeah, I do agree with you.
Let's just pick 1 in 5.
Let's just pick 1 in 5. Let's just say 1 in 5. I'm going to say, I think that like probably.
Because, okay, first of all.
Yes.
Molly Brown.
Lesbian.
That's a lesbian.
That's a lesbian. I was thinking.
She was bringing little Egyptian statuettes on the Titanic. A straight woman would never do that.
A straight woman would never do that. No, there's nothing like.
If you were obsessed with Egypt as a kid.
You're gay.
You're gay.
Now. You're gay now. I was obsessed with Egypt.
I was obsessed with Egypt too.
And Egypt rocks.
Or the Loch Ness Monster. That was something that got reborn in my brain yesterday. I forgot how obsessed I was with the Loch Ness Monster.
I forgot about that too. Wow. I remember. Yeah. Did you ever watch Mystery Hunters? Yes. The Mystery Hunters Loch Ness Monster episode? That was crazy.
Maybe, and hear me out, the Titanic hit the Loch Ness Monster.
Maybe the Loch Ness Monster put the iceberg there and then the Titanic hit it.
She nudged it.
But I do agree. Molly Brown. I'm thinking about Molly Brown. That's it's a lesbian. You know,
and you got to assume that 80% of the crew are gay.
Well, because I was thinking
I think that's a conservative estimate. I think that's a conservative estimate of sailors. That 80% of the crew of the Titanic was probably gay.
Well, and you have to think too. Like this is before World War I and World War II, so it's like anyone who's a sailor in this time.
Vibes were good.
Vibes were good, and they were just sailors because they wanted to be. They were just like, I want to be on a boat with my boys.
Yes,
it wasn't like I was contractually obligated to be in the Navy.
Yeah, they weren't drafted or whatever.
No, they weren't drafted. They were just like, I want to be.
I have a girlfriend, but I never have to see her.
Girlfriend.
It's a lavender marriage.
Lavender marriage.
Okay, and then. Yeah, I feel like in first class, the benefit of being like kind of rich in the olden days is that you could just kind of be like gay.
For sure.
So I feel like we would know. You know what I mean? Like
I also
you could just
think
that's the thing of like if there's ever like an unmarried woman who's just vibing in the olden times, it's because her parents like owned the most oil in America or something like that.
Absolutely. Also, I think that like if I were a lesbian in 10, whatever, turn of the century, I feel like I just saddle up with whatever like eligible bachelor who would make sure that I had a bunch of money. Yeah. And then he'd go off on his travels and I would just have like lunches.
Oh my God.
With the like other women of the Gilded Age. You know
I agree. No, I think that I would 100% do that. I'd be like the kind of woman who just kind of sits on like a chaise lounge.
Yes.
That's not how you say it.
Chaise lounge.
And just like reads a book. You know what I mean? That seems correct to me.
A really long book, like in the garden.
I think that Bruce Ismay
gay.
Is gay. Yes.
Yeah, he's gay.
Because you would, if you were like the captain or whatever, and I have to pick someone to tell the story of the Titanic. I'm picking a twink.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, he's going to add narrative flair to this.
Well, and Bruce Ismay, I love that you brought him up because he was one of the people I was most excited to talk to.
We should say who he is for the people who don't know what the Titanic is.
Bruce Ismay was the managing director of White Star Line at the time the Titanic sank, and he was on the Titanic.
You might know him from the movie. He's the one that's like, go faster.
Yeah.
Don't you want to break the record?
Yeah. And then he's like, you might get your headlines, Mr. Ismay.
Exactly.
Because he wants to like arrive in New York early.
Really fast because for whatever reason.
He's on team make the boat go fast.
Yes,
whereas
which is also very phallic.
It's very phallic. Yeah. Make the big time boat go super fast. Epic.
Yeah. So when the Titanic was sinking, they basically sent him on a lifeboat so that somebody from the, like, who had knowledge of the boat and had knowledge of White Star Line and all that stuff could talk about it. Basically, who could could tell what happened as opposed to everyone being like, I don't know. It sank. Like they needed somebody who understood what was happening to tell the story.
Especially because like so much of the crew died. It's actually
the way you said that was insane.
But it's great. But it's crazy because it's like, yeah, he was branded as like the coward of the Titanic. Like people were like really pissed off at Bruce Ismay because he got into the boat when, you know, it was like women and children only.
Yeah, and he got in. But he was, in his defense, he was told to get in. Like they were like, somebody needs to talk about this who has any knowledge of what happened.
Because the captain died. Thomas Andrews, who was like the main architect of the boat, died. And then literally out of the crew, 908 members of the crew died. No, sorry, never mind. Wait.
That's just how many crew there were.
That was, okay. There were 908 members of the crew in total.
Okay, so
out of those, 698 died.
That's crazy.
Insane.
That's an insane amount.
Including in crew, these are people who like don't know about the ship. These are just like, you know, the boiler room guys.
Yeah, you needed somebody who had
people
knowledge of like the makeup of the ship and what happened so you could talk about it. So he had to get on. So he was called the coward of the Titanic because he survived. Also, he was just scapegoated because it was a horrible tragedy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's one guy who's like a rich guy talking about it. It is like annoying.
And we also love to hate on a twink. You know, it's
exactly.
Like, there's a reason people hate Ben Platt. I think he's a twink.
Yeah, he's a twonk.
A twonk.
I'm a Ben Platt apologist.
I know. I am too, to be honest.
Okay.
Well, I'm just like, of course he did that. He's a musical theater twink and his daddy's a producer.
Would you not? Yeah.
Would you not also be like that?
You've seen the famous Ben Platt screenshot where when he was like 12, he went into the Wicked fans Facebook group and just made a post that said, "Hi, my name is Ben Platt, son of Mark Platt, in parentheses, producer of Wicked." He just said that in the group, which is so funny. Okay, we're going to talk about the crew and notable passengers.
Yes.
So 2,240 people sailed on the Titanic. 1,517 passengers died.
Insane.
That's an insane amount.
Insane.
First of all, no, I'm not going to say that 9/11 wasn't sad.
We're gonna have a countdown. How long does it take Carley to bring up 9/11?
Yeah, that was pretty. It's a constant thought in my mind.
Yeah,
because I stay remembering.
Yeah,
I never forget.
We're coming up to it right now.
I know.
I don't know when this is coming out.
Exactly, and I'm gonna do a one-woman mime show to commemorate.
Yeah.
I'm playing
I'll be there.
No, I'm not going to make jokes about 9/11. I know it's not funny. So I know it's not funny. It's because I know it's not funny, and because I know this is being filmed, I like really want to say something deeply offensive as a way of enacting control. It's like when you are on the top of a building and you're like, I could fall off right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I could jump.
It's an intrusive thought.
Yes.
To be funny about 9/11.
Exactly. So there's first class, second class, third class, and of course the crew, which we talked about. Mm-hmm. Crew full of sailors hooking up nonstop. And that's a fact.
Probably in the potato room.
If they have any fucking sense.
Yeah.
They're doing it in the potato room.
Or the potato wash room.
The first class is the very wealthy upper class. You know, they're high-ranking businessmen. You know, you've been on like an Air Canada flight and you have to walk past the motherfuckers in like the wide chairs who get the warm cookie.
It's rude.
And you've got to like look out a window that's frosted over with somebody's face sweat in economy. A single person berth on the first class costs between 30 euros and 870 euros. So the top price in today's dollars would be around $92,000, which is
pounds too. So
pounds.
It's like
more,
almost double or whatever the exchange rate
why?
Is. That's actually crazy.
That's too much, but that is some rich person shit.
Yeah, I guess like also if you're going to be traveling on it for like a week, I guess that makes sense. But like still insane. I don't know. People were too rich.
I know.
Then. They're too rich.
They're too rich now. People are too rich. Period.
People just should have less money.
So second class, this is, you know, middle class. The jobs that Blair chose to speak, the jobs Blair said is professors, authors, and tourists.
The three genders.
The three genders. Professors, authors, tourists.
I'm a tourist of life.
I identify as an author, but I do think I was born tourist.
Yeah.
You know?
We're all tourists.
Yeah.
On this spaceship called life.
Ahoy! Ahoy, mate! Ahoy, mate! So this is the average ticket price for an adult second-class passenger was £13, which is equivalent to £1,400 in 2021.
These inflation prices are crazy. Like, how do we go from €13 or £13
I know.
to
we're in a bad timeline.
That's crazy.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
We're in a bad timeline.
Also, like, okay, here's my question though. Like, is that normal? Like,
or is it more expensive?
Yeah, like, so like $2,800 Canadian dollars Is that like normal? Would that be like a normal cruise line ticket? Probably. For second class?
2,000. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think the fact of the matter is also that like the creation of the airplane just made travel more accessible.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're going to be on this thing for like 2 weeks sometimes.
Yeah.
So it just costs a lot of money to be fed and roomed for
That's
2
true.
weeks.
Yeah.
And it's the only option. So it's you can make it expensive. And like the amount of fuel must be insane.
Yeah.
The coal, I guess, or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, I think, and again, this is truly me talking out of my ass, but I do think that like it's just more expensive because that's also like what travel used to be incredibly expensive.
Yeah, that's so true. And I guess this probably would have been like pretty cheap when like, especially like if you're immigrating to a new country, you probably saved up like all of your,
it's your
like,
life savings
money.
or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then third class is mostly immigrants moving to the USA and Canada. Immigrants, we get the job done. That's from Hamilton.
Okay. No, I know.
Third class passengers paid €7, which is the equivalent to €700 in 2021 for their ticket.
Still very expensive.
It's still expensive.
That's
but
still pricey.
I do feel like if you're flying across ocean now,
yeah,
your ticket's going to be like $600 or something like that, you know?
That's still double that.
I know, that is crazy.
But then I guess, again, you're getting fed.
Ticket
with
prices
your gruel.
Also included the price of rail to travel to the 3 departure ports. So that's good.
That's smart.
Yeah, and the children third class ticket is €3, which is the equivalent to €300 now.
That's crazy.
So let's talk about some notable passengers on the Titanic. We have JP Morgan. We are later doing a conspiracy theory episode, and he factors in heavily into that.
Yes.
Because everybody thinks that because he bought a suite on the Titanic, but didn't show up.
Yeah.
So he lived.
Yeah. I read a theory somewhere because obviously I'm an astrology girl,
I love that.
So I'm insane. And I read a theory that he didn't go on the ship because he did astrology and Neptune, which rules the ocean, was retrograding in Pisces.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm gonna save it for the conspiracy episode, but just so you know, that is what the astrology girls are saying about JP Morgan on the Titanic.
That's wild.
Which is because Neptune, planet of water, Pisces,
it's a water sign.
And like, you know, all that stuff. And then retrograde is like when things are like going like backwards. Like it's not a good time to
double
do stuff.
water backwards.
Yeah, like double water backwards. So like, you know how Mercury retrograde, Mercury, oh my God, Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. When it's in retrograde, it's like, communication's going to be fucked up. Imagine that, but like
water.
And,
and by the way, you're about to be on a ship.
Yeah, by the way, you're going on a ship.
I love that.
Yeah, but I'm going to save it.
Yeah, I will say what I had read about that, and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But it was to do with business. We'll get more into that in the conspiracy theory episode. He was trying to send artwork over to a museum, and if you don't know, rich people kind of keep art in these free ports where you don't have to claim them on your taxes. So he was in that free port trying to get all of his paintings out to send them to a museum.
Yeah.
And they were fucking around and they couldn't find stuff. So he was late or whatever as well.
Yeah.
But the point was he wasn't on this. He was on the Titanic. It's like that Seth MacFarlane story where he was supposed to be on the plane that went down.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
He was hungover.
Exactly. So JP Morgan was hungover. He did astrology, didn't make the Titanic, but several other incredibly rich people died on the Titanic.
And it all had to do with they all had like a hand in the banks at the time. So that was like another big part of it.
Well, it's like not to say that like obviously there's a massive wealth inequality now, but there was like very few incredibly wealthy people, and the ones that were incredibly wealthy just like ran everything.
And they were all like in New York City, which I feel like was another big part of it.
New York City, center of the universe.
Yes.
Times are shitty, but I'm pretty sure they can't get worse.
Because we control the banks. That's from Hamilton.
That's from Hamilton.
That's from Hamilton, the musical.
We get the banks. They're in the same spot. You got more than you gave, and I wanted what I got. Okay.
I want to be in the room where...
So they had... Oh, also, the founder of Hershey's Chocolate planned to go, but didn't go.
Thank God.
Thank fucking God.
Thank God. Where would I be without my Hershey?
I wouldn't be here
Where would I
without
be
my
with
Hershey.
my little Hershey's?
A little Hershey kiss.
My little,
because
can you imagine?
Here's the thing about the creator of Hershey's. Everybody thought about chocolate in a bar. Nobody thought of chocolate in the shape of a tiny turd.
Yeah. Like, it's like, what if I put my mouth on a ball of chocolate, melted it, and pulled it out?
What if?
What if no one had done that?
I don't even want to think about that.
It's actually like,
I don't even want to think. It sends shivers down my spine.
Literally nauseous right now.
Yeah, thinking about a world without Hershey's kisses.
Hershey's hugs.
So also, famously, King Princess's grandparents were on the Titanic.
Incredible. They died.
They died. RIP.
I think they were great. They must be great-grandparents. Great-grandparents or grandparents?
Probably great.
Probably great. Who knows? I think great-grandparents.
Seems like it's our job to know. The time period suggests to me great-grandparents because she's kind of like around our age.
Yeah.
But they were the founders of Macy's. Their names were Isidore and Ida Strauss.
That's
crazy.
And
Ida was able to like get onto a lifeboat, but she didn't want to leave with her husband. So they died together.
Honestly, so fair.
They don't make women like that anymore.
No. They don't make loyal women.
No, they don't make loyal women anymore.
They don't make loyal women.
Today, if the Titanic happened, women would be they'd be swiping on Tinder in the middle of the fucking ocean.
I'd be on the boat on Bumble.
I'm on Raya trying to figure out, get somebody from first class.
Yeah, I'm trying to get like an invite code. Yeah. anyone have a Raya invite?
Yeah. We also have John Jacob Astor. Sorry, whenever I hear John Jacob, I literally want to go John Jacob Jingleheimer's Men. So actually, fun fact, on the Titanic, John Jacob Jingleheimer's Men died.
He died, yeah.
John Jacob Astor.
His name is my name too.
And say his name.
Jingleheimer.
Jingleheimer. He was the creator of the Waldorf Astoria hotels, fancy hotels.
And good for him.
Even better for him, he was sailing with his 18-year-old pregnant wife.
Crazy. Crazy.
Jerry Seinfeld core.
Jerry Seinfeld would have been on the Titanic.
Yeah, but he would have been... The Titanic, it's going down!
It's going down! It's going down!
The Titanic!
What's the deal with this water?
It's literally unsinkable!
It's unsinkable? Well, yeah, right!
He said it was unsinkable!
Instead of if the Titanic...
Kramer's like, oh, it's unsinkable, Jerry.
Oh, it's unsinkable, Jerry. Just like your big head's unsinkable. Seinfeld. If the Titanic had sunk in 1989, they wouldn't have had the band playing as it went down. It would just be Jerry Seinfeld doing... doing a tight 2 hours.
Women spend too much time in the bathroom. Everybody's jumping into the ocean because they'd literally rather die than hear Jerry Seinfeld talk about gender politics.
It's actually the lifeboats got filled really fast.
Yeah,
they were all
everyone
like
else,
packed.
Everyone else hung themselves. Yeah. And then once he got on a lifeboat, it's Kramer, and it's like you've seen the famous video of when the guy who's Kramer starts saying the N-word like 900 times.
For sure.
And he said didn't he say he had like a brain tumor?
Yeah, something for sure. He for sure had some insane.
And they famously do that.
Yeah, for sure.
We also have, of course, famous lesbian, the unsinkable Molly Brown.
I want her to top me. Is that bad to say? Like, I think this podcast is making me realize how much I have like an old timey lesbian fantasy. Like
it's like the price of salt, right?
Yeah. What? Price of salt?
What's Carol called? What's the original book of Carol called?
I'm not sure.
The Price of Salt?
I don't know.
The reason I'm fucked up about it is because I watch Riverdale, and Riverdale gives a corny ass fake fucking name to everything. And they had one of the characters, because they're back in the 50s now, by the way, because Haley's comet flew over Riverdale, and Cheryl's a witch, and she shot at the comet with her magic powers, bringing them all back to the 50s, but they don't remember that they're from the present. So they're all in the 50s, so they're doing a lot of like 1950s lesbian thing. And one of the characters gave the other lesbian character The Price of Salt, I think is what it's called, but it's called something else because they can't have anything named the same thing.
The Price of Pepper?
Yeah, it's called The Price of Salt, which is the name of the novel that Carol, the lesbian movie, is
I had 25
based
minutes left in Carol, and then they took it off Amazon Prime.
No, it's Netflix, I think.
Yeah, I saw it was like on something new now, so I have to go back and finish Carol.
But like Riverdale gives a funky ass name to everything in their thing. They can't have them name the regular thing. So it's called like The Cost of Pepper. Like the book is called The Cost of Pepper. There's also a character named Ray Bradbury who got killed by a zombie milkman, and his name is Brad Raybury. Y'all are missing out. Hop into Riverdale season 7.
Oh my God.
Anyways.
Guggenheim was the other rich guy.
Guggenheim of the Guggenheim Museum.
Millionaire Guggenheim. That's all it says in this book.
He was a millionaire. He went down as well. Okay, so we lost some of our best millionaires. Also, I think if we did a Titanic in 2023 and all the billionaires were on it, solve a lot of problems.
Like, sure.
I do think our modern day Titanic, in the sense of just taking out billionaires, is going to be whenever one of Jeff Bezos's fucking rockets explodes.
That's true. Yeah.
Pete Davidson is going to die.
No, I don't want Pete Davidson to die.
I don't either. Although me and my friends have a death poll, and you have to pick a crazy, like a person who's not super old. You pick one person who's really old to say that they're going to die this year, and one person who's not old. And I said Dick Van Dyke for my old person and Pete Davidson for my young person. Because it was right after he drove that car into the side of the house.
Oh, yeah. I just feel like Pete Davidson kind of has like Mick Jagger energy.
I know, or like Keith Richards energy. Where you're like, he's not gonna, I agree.
Yeah, like it's like you could probably, if you've survived this long, you would probably survive like a nuclear attack. You know what I mean? He's built like a Staten Island rat. Yeah, exactly.
Like a cockroach. And not to insult him, but it's just like he's not gonna die.
No, like it just seems like he has like he's got something going for him.
Like he could
don't understand.
Like he could fall out of a window and like not break a bone.
Yeah, he just kind of bounce.
No. Jerry Seinfeld. Glass bones. Shattering.
If he had not been protected.
Obviously, we'll come back to it. We'll talk about the unsinkable Molly Brown. If you read the story of how Jerry Seinfeld dated a 17-year-old, it's crazy because he claimed that they started dating literally the day after she turned 18. Okay. And he said that they met on a park bench in Central Park and he talked to her. And by the time he finally got to know her, he realized she was 17 or 18 or whatever. And by then the bond was just so strong. Jerry, he was like 40 too. Like he was like, this was when Seinfeld was on air.
What are you doing on a bench?
In Central Park just talking to people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know. It's like when you see somebody on the bus and they're like they just have their eyes wide as fuck open and they want to talk.
Also, like, I'm sorry, but if you're any level of like celebrity and you're just like purposely because I've seen like kind of not like I've never seen like a mega celebrity do this, but I've seen like TV celebrities like at bars and stuff and where they'll just kind of like stand around like they're waiting for someone to kind of talk to them.
Yeah.
And it's like
I saw Cole Sprouse do that once.
Yeah.
I'll put him on blast. Speaking of Riverdale.
Coldmouth. No, but it's true. It's just like, oh, you want someone to like be like, oh my God, it's you. It's like, no, you planted yourself.
Put a hat on.
Yeah, put a baseball hat on. Put a balaclava on. Wear a weird shirt.
Cover that shit up.
Wear a wig. Wear some sunglasses. You know what I mean? Like, I don't believe that story at all. That's actually crazy. Also, like, who talks to people?
So, famous lesbian, the unsinkable Molly Brown. She's a really amazing person. She's like an advocate for education. She's, again, kind of what we were talking about, where if you're like a wealthy woman in this time, you don't necessarily need to be like, you aren't bound to the same rules of women and like the Gilded Age, where she basically traveled around and like acquired antiques and like weird historical artifacts to fund museums and stuff. And she was just really into like education and travel and stuff like that. Yeah. She's called the unsinkable Molly Brown because she was in 4 shipwrecks. And I have a stand-up joke about this. And she was in 4 shipwrecks, including the Titanic. If somebody was in 4 9/11s, you would ask questions. You'd be like, what? You know, lightning doesn't strike twice. Like, what do you have to do with this?
Yeah. What have you done?
But also, like, what a funny image. Like, the Titanic is going down and everyone's like, fuck, no! And she's like, wow. Packs everything up again. Gets caught. Like, she, like, brings, like, a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like, this is just how it goes.
She's doing a crossword.
Exactly. She's like, this is just, bring a book or something.
That's actually insane.
Because she did bring, talking about the curse of the mummy, which, again, we will bring up in the conspiracy theory episode, there's a theory that a mummy's curse sank the Titanic.
Yeah.
Is it real or not? Whoa. It's Rami Malek in Night at the Museum.
Slay. A slay. He slays.
He slays. But that's because Molly Brown was acquiring basically little Egyptian statuettes that were not bodies. They were buried with mummies.
Yes.
And they had some level of like human remains, because you know how Egyptians love to do that. Like there was some level of like human skin in them. I have more written on this for that actual episode, but she was able to pack them up and brought them back. Like she packed them up in her little satchel, brought her book, got on a lifeboat and vibed. Yeah. So she was able to actually bring them back.
I mean,
which is kind of cool.
Good for her.
Yeah, it'd be funny if they're not big, like they're small, but it would be funny if it was taking up a seat.
Yeah. She brought an entire sarcophagus on the boat.
Yeah, she's like, look, guys.
Sorry, guys.
I gotta do this.
Gotta bring this. People are gonna be pissed if I don't get this back. This stolen artifact back to New York.
They don't want it. Egypt doesn't want it anymore.
They don't want it. Whatever. It's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's actually insane.
I know. So that's the unsinkable Molly Brown. We have Carl Beher, who's a pro tennis player.
Awesome.
Slay.
Good for him.
Good for him. Then we have Helen Churchill Candy, who's a feminist author who is also on there, talking about the percentage of lesbians on the Titanic.
Lesbian.
You can't be a feminist author in the turn of the century if you're not a lesbian.
No, you're like no.
And that's not an insult.
No, it's a good
compliment.
Thing. It's a compliment. It's like, oh, you're good, you know.
Yeah, well, you can't like in the
person.
old days, if you couldn't have been like a feminist or really an author if you wanted to get married.
Like a husband.
Yeah, I mean, Zelda Fitzgerald tried to do that and look where it got her.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because she wrote a novel. Her husband got mad because he would often like pull from her life for his characters. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yes.
He would pull from her life for his characters. So when she was like, I'm going to publish my novel about my life, he was like, but I want to use that for my next novel. She then was obviously experiencing mental health problems as well. He put her in like an asylum. And not like, I'm saying asylum because like in the olden days, asylum.
No, yeah.
And it burnt to the ground and she died.
That's actually I didn't know that's how she died. I didn't know all the other stuff, but that's horrific.
I know.
Rude. I think that she wrote The Great Gatsby.
I think she wrote The Great Gatsby too.
I think she wrote it because I read The Beautiful and Damned. That book sucks.
It's so
It is maybe the worst thing I've had to haul ass through.
I'm reading his like 4th book or whatever. I even forget what it's called, but it's called Tender is the Night.
Oh yeah.
And I do think he's a good author. Like, because the first half of the book, I'm like, this is vibes. The first half of the book is like rich people in the French Riviera in the 20s. And you're like, great. And then the second half of the book is just about a racist murder of a black man. It just happens in the middle of it. And you're like, why? This is what the whole book is about now?
Normal. Wow.
Normal. Regular.
Yeah, that's insane to me.
We have, of course, Frederick Fleet, who was the first person who saw the iceberg.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think next week we're doing the sinking. And I'm really excited because like there are so many theories around the actual sighting of the iceberg that I'm really interested to get into.
Well, I would imagine it's kind of like when you're in the desert or something, when you're on the ocean, because it's the same level of like kind of consistency, like as far as the eye can see, the same like texture, which I can imagine would do a lot of tricks of the eye, right?
Yeah, and it was like a really crazy still night. Yeah. So I feel like there's so many things about like, oh, you know, like these guys on the lookout were like fucking off, like they didn't have their binoculars.
Well, also
stuff.
something important to remember is like the lookout wasn't like a like really important job.
No,
like this is like, imagine like the kid from your high school that went into the army. They're all like 23 or whatever. Yeah. Imagine that kid who's like in the army and you're like, he's in the army? He should not be in the army.
They're like drinking mead and then crawling up the big ladder to like look out.
They have syphilis and it's eating their brain. Like that's just, it's like weird. It's like when I know people my age now who are like pilots, I'm like that's
no
not good.
That's crazy. That's great. I worked at a brewery with a pilot and I was like, that's actually like, and he was like a cool guy, but I was like, I just cannot fathom someone I'm drinking with right now getting behind the wheel of a plane.
Imagine you're talking
and
to
going
me.
in the air.
I know. Like imagine you're talking to me and you're like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, I'm seeing a new guy. Mm-hmm. He's the lookout on the Titanic. He's really like, he's cute. He's a little dumb.
He's cute in like a sailor way.
But I'm like into like a himbo moment right now. Although the weirdest thing did happen when I was sucking his cock.
So I'd have something to do with my mouth.
He kept going, this is fantastic. So I feel like he might be gay.
Yeah.
I will just say, in terms of lookouts.
Yes.
Like the name, was Frederick Fleet, was he a lookout or was he just like a guy? Because that's a great name for the person. Like if I was writing a novel about a person who saw the iceberg on the Titanic, Frederick Fleet is a great name.
So, okay, here's the thing. There were people in the lookouts. I am personally of the belief that like it doesn't really matter like who was on the lookout, what were they doing, blah, 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 blah. basically, no one really knows certainly for sure why it wasn't seen for so long. There's a theory about the binoculars. The binoculars were left behind. And they didn't have binoculars. They couldn't see too far. However, there's another theory that I'm more convinced of. And the binoculars thing, honestly, I need to like look into it in terms of like the sinking and all that stuff. But the theory that I believe is that it was such a still and calm night that it was basically like a desert where it's like when they saw the iceberg, because of how still the water was, it looked almost like it was like above the water because of how the light refracted.
Right.
So it looked like it was a lot further away than it actually was. So that is the theory that like I buy the most.
Okay.
And it's also that the Titanic was moving so fast.
Because of
Twink Ismay.
Because of
Twink Ismay.
And it's because of the hubris of men.
The hubris of men.
If it was all women on the Titanic, we'd be like, let's take it slow.
Just take it slow. Actually, we're just like, I don't want to get back to the husband yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the stupid kids.
It's not about doing it fast. It's about doing it right.
It's about doing it right. We got to edge the Titanic into New York.
Exactly.
Like 40 times.
For 40 times.
We're just going to kind of sail in circles like next to Halifax.
For a bit.
For like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun.
Girls trip.
That's actually fun.
Yeah.
If they built a new Titanic and said invite 1,000 of your closest girlfriends, I'd be like, yeah, amazing.
It'd be fun. Charlie XCX playing constantly.
Yeah, Charlie X. You get like 3 female pop stars.
Yeah.
And then you invite like your closest like 40 girlfriends.
Yeah.
Get them all to invite their closest 40 girlfriends.
Yeah.
Because every woman, I do believe, can find at least 40 other women.
Definitely.
I think it's easy. You don't have to be like super close.
No,
like,
you don't even have to necessarily even like them.
No.
But you just
40 other women.
You can find them.
You can find them. Yeah, like that's fun. The Titanic never would have sunk.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different reasons, but the lookout is crazy. There was also like another thing with the why we're gonna get into all this in the sinking, because like the thing about the Titanic and what I think really it's the reason why we're doing this podcast, which is that you can never really stop theorizing
because there's no way to know. Because also now everyone's dead.
Everyone is dead, which is why we're able to also do this.
Yeah,
but also like it's interesting because there's like when the Titanic first sunk and news got back like into the news cycle, immediately there were like 1,000 myths that now have like perpetuated into kind of like what we see as facts.
Yeah.
And we've gone over a couple of them, which is like the coward Bruce Ismay.
Yeah.
You know, there was like the forgotten binoculars, like these
the mummy's curse
curse
was printed in the New York Times and is fully not true. There was no mummy on the Titanic.
Yeah.
But it was like some guy overheard a crazy guy talking about how a mummy's curse could sink the ship.
Yes.
And that's enough.
Also at that time, like
it's fucking bye-bye birdie telephone hour.
It's true.
Everybody's just talking about what they think it is.
It's telephone, and it's also like you have to contextualize these things where it's like around that time people were obsessed with Egypt. So like obviously it was crazy.
Yeah.
How much like these like fucking white Americans were like cuckoo gaga about Egypt.
Also India.
And India. That's true. But like Egypt is
new. India's been for a while.
New.
Yeah.
India had been kind of around, and then people were like really fascinated with like the pyramids and the mummies and stuff, which is like terrible for like just loss of artifacts for Egypt. It's actually like mind-boggling to think about the shit they got away with.
Yeah.
But it's like, so yeah, they would go back. A 1912 news cycle would be like, yeah, probably
actually
Egypt is related to this ship. Because that's what's going to sell our papers.
It's BuzzFeed journalism.
It was BuzzFeed journalism.
It
really
that.
is.
It's a clickbait.
They clickbaited. They really clickbaited.
If BuzzFeed was around in the Titanic time, they'd be like, build an outfit and we'll tell you which dead Titanic passenger you are.
Yeah, seriously. Or like that, you won't believe what mummy sank this ship.
We also have Henry Tingle Wild. He was the chief officer of the Titanic and he killed himself. On the deck of the ship with his gun. You'll probably recall in the James Cameron movie, there's like a guy who's trying to get people on the lifeboats and then he shoots himself in the head. This guy did that too. Which I will say, that's fucking me.
Yeah.
That's so me.
Yeah.
Him doing that, nothing makes more sense to me than that. Being like, obviously, I'd rather do this.
Yeah.
Like, and also that's when you probably realize it's really bad. When you're like, when the sailors are like, that's not good.
Shit.
Also, William McMaster Murdoch, he was the first officer. Do you want to take this one?
So he basically just the way he was portrayed in the movie was like kind of they just portrayed him as like shooting someone who was trying to get on the boat. When like in reality he was like probably the guy who got the most people on the lifeboats out of anything. And then he ended up, I believe, like, yeah, he did die. He died on the ship. And then the movie was just like, yeah, he killed a fucking Irish guy. And the family was like, he didn't. He actually didn't. So they ended up getting like an apology from the filmmakers. And like, I understand why they did, like dramatic effect or whatever. But he,
it's just tough when you're doing something like this where it's like when you're using real names, people are like, come on.
Yeah.
Just invent a really evil first officer with like a monocle and a twisty roller coaster tycoon mustache and make it like do what you did with Billy Zane. Like you look at Billy Zane and you're like, that guy's evil.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God, Billy Zane, the most obviously evil character in all of cinema.
It's such a gift in a certain way to be an actor who's a character actor with just an evil face.
Yeah.
What a gift that is.
No, it's actually true. Another person I want to talk about just because I almost forgot it. Like this was somewhere in my psyche and then like I forgot it. So Officer Lightoller was the most senior member of the crew to survive. Oh. He ended up making it out, and then he helped on his pleasure yacht. He helped the evacuation of Dunkirk in World War II using his personal yacht. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
I mean, like, slay.
Yeah. So I'll talk about what Dunkirk is for people who don't know what Dunkirk is. First of all, watch the movie. Harry Styles is in it.
Harry Styles. There's a character based on him in the Dunkirk movie,
really?
The old man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in Dunkirk, basically, it was, and look, there's going to be some World War II incel who's going to listen to this and he's going to be like, actually, shut up.
It's fine.
I don't care.
It's fine.
I don't care.
If you want the facts on Dunkirk, you can double check Carley's explanation on the internet.
Exactly. But get a life. But basically, it was a battle in which it looked like the Allied forces in World War II were going to lose. The Nazis were basically surrounding these people at the beach of Dunkirk. Mm-hmm. And nobody could get in. And basically, they used hundreds of civilian boats. Civilians lent their boats and were able to evacuate the soldiers using their civilian boats. Mm-hmm. This guy gave his pleasure yacht to them. Yeah. Also, what the fuck is a pleasure yacht?
It's a yacht for pleasure. Oh, also, gotta shout out Captain Edward Smith.
It's a fake name. It's a fake ass name.
Edward John Smith. Captain John Smith. Yeah, that's three names that all sound like
pretty fake.
Captain Edward John Smith, we salute you.
Thank
Rest
you, King. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, King. And thank you also to my personal favorite notable member, which is I'm forgetting his name. But I love him. No, Thomas Andrews.
The
just
architect,
a good guy.
of the
architect of the Titanic. Good guy. Played with renowned hottie Victor Garber in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what?
You know when he's turning back the clock with his hands?
Everyone talks about Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie.
No, I feel the same way though. But Victor Garber is very hot.
I get like I blush when he comes on screen.
I know what you mean.
I'm like, oh.
That's how I feel about Stanley Tucci.
Yes, honestly,
he makes me blush.
I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, oh, hi. What are you doing here?
And it is like, it's kind of the reason I think that also like talking about these notable passengers is kind of crazy is because in like any other situation, all of these rich, famous people would have like lived. Mm-hmm. But because it was women and children first, like if you were a man, even if you were a billionaire, it doesn't matter if you're Guggenheim.
Yeah.
You're going down with the ship, babes.
It's true. Because like also Night of the Sinking, they would have done women and children first. They wouldn't even let on like teenage boys a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then like it was just kind of at the end when it was like every man for himself. It's like, okay, if you want to like try and survive, go for it.
Yeah.
You know? And have that time. But it is crazy.
I know. It's so sad to think about sometimes too, like when the creators of Macy's and King Princess's great grandparents like died together. Like mm-hmm. It would be so sad to just be like, I'm going on a vacation with my partner.
Yeah. And then you just die.
Yeah, I think I would. I'd like to believe that I would die mm-hmm. on the ship.
On Titanic?
If Reese was on the Titanic and he couldn't get on, I think I would die.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Reese didn't exist, I would live.
Get on with your lesbian lover.
Exactly.
Onto a boat. Yeah, it is crazy. Like, also just like, yeah, it really was a crazy death toll, especially for men. I will shout out first class children. Only one died, and no children in second class died. So they did
second class children do it better.
Second class children, they know how to not die.
Exactly.
52 children in third class died, which is too bad.
What a strong POV.
It's really too bad. And then,
also, obviously, I know it was like, it was sinking really fast and they didn't really have time to organize. You gotta get the kids on the boat first.
Yeah. No, you really do.
You have to get the kids.
You gotta get the kids out.
You gotta get the kids out first.
You gotta get the kids out.
Dogs, and there's like a dog. There's a bunch of dogs. There's like 4 dogs on the Titanic too, and they died. It's like really funny. Sorry. Our producer is so mad about me. And I say that because like the thing that I find so aggravating about the online discourse about the Titanic is like people will post a picture of those dogs and be like, but don't worry, they survived. Like in denial. And you're like, babe, kids died.
They died.
Like not like humans died.
Yeah, 52 third class children died.
Like it's the weird thing of being like, are you okay?
It's like, why do you care about the dogs?
Are you okay?
No, I'm not okay.
No, but it is that. It is like being like so many humans died, and they're like, "Oh, geez." It's like obviously it's sad the dogs are dead.
We don't want the dogs to die, but I think it's worse that the kids died.
Kids died,
and the fathers, they could have been drafted and died in the war instead.
Exactly.
Damn. Okay.
We should bring that draft back, right?
Let's bring back the draft.
I would love it if they brought back the draft because I'd get so many more jobs if all the men were at war.
I know. We could work in a factory together.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun. I also think, like...
Would it be so fun?
I don't know if I believe, like, in the draft, but I do think...
I don't believe in the draft. Let's say that.
I'm anti-war. But I do think that everyone should have to do something that they don't want to do for at least 1 to 2 years.
I think that's very true.
Or else you become insane.
I agree.
Like, it doesn't matter what it's like either. Like, pick something that you don't want to do and you just have to kind of be forced to do it for a while. So
I do think that's why kids these days, and not to be like, kids these days.
Okay, boomer. God.
But kids are insane these days. Yeah. And because none of them get jobs.
No.
And it's also because it's really hard for them to get jobs because the world is awful. So like everybody who's like working jobs that kids used to have are like teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like trying to fund their divorces and stuff. Like it's really dark.
Yeah.
But like now I went to Boston Pizza last night. Brag. And
I actually saw this and got jealous.
And it was the first time I'd been like served by a teen who like is just so like gaunt in the face and doesn't want to be there in forever. Because every time now it's like somebody who's like, I'm an actor and I'm trying to make my dreams come true. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm just so used to being like part-time jobs now are so overpopulated with just people trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
But that means that
they're like, this is my food money.
Yeah. So teens don't have jobs. But that means that they're crazy because like you're working with people who are like, it sucks that they're making us do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it is a job.
Yeah.
Like the reason you're here to get paid. And I have a bad attitude. I'm the first to admit that. Like I hate being told what to do.
No, I know what you mean. Like I resent it, but like even I know so many people now who like never really had like a shitty job in their life. And now I feel like are in a shittier job situation because like they never learned how to hack the system. Where it's like, if I hadn't been a prep cook at Jack Astor's for a summer, I wouldn't have gotten like, you know, a weird like I wouldn't have gotten my like ultimately like awesome serving job that got me through college.
Definitely, because
that wouldn't have led me to like being a bartender, and now I can work like 2 days a week and pay my rent.
Yeah.
While like all the rest of the stuff I do is just like, I'm gonna do comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas like I know other people who are just like, oh, like I have this job that's like, you know, is like I work 48 hours and they pay me for 20, and it's like, what the fuck?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's like be a barista.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's very true. I wonder how many baristas died on the Titanic. How many hot baristas died on the Titanic?
I think one did.
Well, there was a thing that I read, and we'll talk about this again in the sinking episode, but a bunch of the people in the cafe died because they were, it's such a bummer to talk about this at the end of the episode, but they were they were hired by a third party, so therefore we're just like not allowed to get on the lifeboats.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like who
Can you
cares?
imagine?
Who's like this running those semantics, being like, actually, because you are an employee here, you've got to die.
Honestly, though, like Starbucks union busting makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Okay, Blair, you know what time it is.
I know what time it is, Carly.
Let's make this tragedy about us!
Yes, the best segment.
And only segment.
The only segment on the show, other than the segment where we just kind of hang out.
Yeah, the first segment.
The first segment.
Here we pose a question every week to make the tragedy of the Titanic somehow about us.
About us, because ultimately it is about us.
What's the point of having a podcast if not to make
things
about you?
No, I totally agree.
So I have 2 questions for you.
Okay, amazing. I'm excited.
Question number 1. If you were a man, how would you survive the Titanic?
Okay.
And let's say you can be like a first class man. Or alternatively, how would you die if you don't have any interest in surviving?
Okay. You know what? If I were a first class man, I think either I would like die or I would get on a lifeboat. Honestly, I'd probably just try to do it. Honestly, I'd probably just be like, hey, like if you guys let me go, I'm gonna give a bunch of money to like other survivors. But honestly, if I were like a first class old man, I'd probably just do the Guggenheim thing where it's just like I just pour a glass of like the most expensive scotch I own.
Yep.
And just kind of drink and go down with the ship, because you're only going to see the inside of a shipwreck once.
That's true.
You know? And I do think that would be like, that's not like a common way to die. So.
And you want to see it happen.
Yeah. What about you?
I do think if I was trying to get on the lifeboat, I think I would kind of rely on the fact that I think if I was a man, I would be a very effeminate man, and maybe try and source a wig.
Ooh, okay.
And because everybody's going crazy now, just kind of like start opening rooms and find a dress.
Yes.
And then find a wig.
Oh, that's smart.
And then just get on.
Yeah.
And then that's that.
Yeah.
That's it. But if I'm going down with the ship, I've always long held, because even though I understand that death is imminent in life, period, I fear like long, painful death. Even though statistically, bummer at the end of a podcast, I'm gonna get cancer. 1 in 4, baby. 1 in 4 people in our lifetime are gonna get cancer. Is it gonna be me, you, Rob, or Finch?
Finch the dog.
Yeah.
Dang. So fair.
I've already had it, so it's fine.
Oh, no.
So it's Rob.
Yeah, okay. Then we're fine. But I like, even though I understand that like it's going to die, I really do fear like a long death. So I have long kind of held in the advent of an apocalypse, I would kill myself.
Yeah.
So I really do think if I was on the Titanic, I would just kill myself.
Okay. That's cool.
I would just I would get a gun and I'd shoot myself in the head. Especially if I'm a man.
Yeah.
Because men, as we know, attempt suicide less, but are successful more.
That's
Except,
true,
fun fact, in Afghanistan. Because the Taliban has ruined women's lives.
Dang.
So they kill themselves more there.
Oh. Oh, I was confused.
That's
about
the
your
only
angle there,
so the
sense.
only place in the world where women succeed in suicide more than men is Afghanistan on account of the Taliban.
That's too bad.
Is that where the Taliban's from?
Yes.
I'm from America, so I get Iraq and Afghanistan mixed out. I get mixed. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I would kill myself, and I would kill myself and I would use a gun because I'm a man.
Yes.
And that's generally speaking a man's choice tool.
Yes.
Because I'm a really bad swimmer, so I'm not surviving. And if I'm not getting on a boat, like I really think if I saw I think I'm envisioning you, like you're watching the shipwreck happen from the inside and you're just kind of like sitting there.
Yeah.
You're letting it happen.
Yeah. But you're going.
I would be too scared. Like I would really want to be there in that way. Yeah. But I couldn't. Like my body, like I really do have a weird, for somebody who has had such, I've just been rife with mental health issues. I do have like a real survivor part of my brain of like my body will kind of knee-jerk react
Yeah.
in fear to things like that. So I'd have to just do it really quickly. I'd have to get killed.
I respect that.
Or I'd try to get shot. You know what I mean?
Get someone else to shoot you.
Yeah,
Get your
exactly.
like manservant to shoot
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
And then get him to survive. That'd be fun. Like,
That would be
kill
fun.
me
And then you
and take
can
my
go
place. And then you can go live, have a bunch of children.
and name one after me.
I won't have to remember.
My name in this universe is Jingles Bean.
Here's the key to my penthouse.
By the way, I'm Jingles Bean. And I'm the creator of the snow cone. And then I die on the Titanic. That's my character.
Confession is that you invented
the snow cone. I don't want anyone to know.
No one else has done this. I just
take my blueprints. Take my blueprints.
No one else knows this shape. A cone
and snow. And my second question for you, Blair.
Second question.
We were talking about how because men just died on the Titanic because they couldn't get into the lifeboats, that a lot of famous and notable men for the time period did die. If the Titanic happened now, which male celebrities do you think would have died? And do you think any would survive?
Okay. Oh, this is such a good question.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many possible answers. I think that like there's obviously like Elon Musk, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Like these questions. I kind of want to take a sidestep from this. I feel like Oprah would be on the modern day Titanic. But I think she'd survive. I think she'd survive.
I think she would survive. I think that honestly, even if there wasn't room in a lifeboat for her, somebody would make room for Oprah.
No, she'd get in the life. Like I think she would survive. I also could see like George W. Bush being on the Titanic and dying.
Oh, 100%.
Like
George,
just,
no, like as soon as panic breaks out, I think somebody's literally going to kill George Bush.
Yeah.
Like, I think he will get killed.
Especially because, like, I think he's such an interesting historical figure where it's like people hated him and now people are so neutral on him. Where I feel like a shipwreck would be how he dies.
That seems correct.
Like, it just,
I do agree with that.
Fits.
I think J.K. Rowling would be on the Titanic.
Yeah, for sure. Because she also does that trip. She does.
She's signing the Harry Potter books in America. That's why she's on the Titanic.
And then going back to England.
And I think she gets pushed off of a lifeboat. And kind of like, you know, when there's like the lifeboats that are coming down from the Titanic and then it kind of breaks and people kind of fall or whatever. Yeah. I think somebody's going to push her.
I also could see her getting like smushed by a steam stack.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the death. I know that like probably happened to so few people, but
you're always, like somebody does get that.
That's always the death I picture. When I honestly feel like
the person who would get smushed by the steam stack. That's correct, right? That's how I said it. Yeah. I think a person that would get smushed by a steam stack if the Titanic was modern day, I think it would honestly, like, it would be like an influencer.
It'd be like Addison Rae.
she's like, and everyone's like, girl, move, she's on live, and they're like, girl, move, and she's like,
it's coming behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. Who's another influencer who would die?
I think of a guy. I mean, Jake Paul would be on the Titanic for sure. He would be so dead. It's crazy. He would die like in a dumb way.
I feel like Jake Paul and Logan Paul would both be on it. One of them would die in a stupid way, and the other one would do the Billy Zane thing where he like finds a kid and is like, "This is my child."
Yeah. Logan Paul's like, "I've got a child.
I'm all she has in the world."
Yeah, the kid's like, "Who the fuck is this?" Yeah,
but he's like, "Let's eat 15 hamburgers." I think.
Oh, okay. Another person I think dies on the Titanic.
Okay,
Grumpy Cat.
Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad.
I honestly think that like Grumpy Cat or like, do you know Tika the Iggy? No. It's like a TikTok greyhound who wears costumes. I'm bringing her up because I've met her once at a TikTok convention.
That's incredible.
And I think she would survive because if you ever meet a TikTok dog, it is the darkest timeline ever. Because we were at this convention and it was this dog wearing this fucking like feather suit. And you're looking at this dog knowing this dog probably makes like 6 figures a year.
For sure.
And in the background is like people working a bar. You know what I mean? Like people like working for their living, and you're like, this dog makes just millions for being a dog and for wearing costumes.
That's crazy.
And these people are doing work that they don't. So I feel like honestly, like people are dying on like third class passengers are dying on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Because like Boo the dog is getting a seat in a lifeboat. They're like, we must save Boo.
It's so important to the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad, but I do think you're right. I also feel like there would be like a pop punk band that dies.
Oh, All Time Low is going down.
Yeah, like it's not one of it's like All Time Low, like Jimmy Eat World.
Exactly.
I feel like
it's not Fall Out Boy.
No, it's not My Chemical Romance.
It's not Green Day.
Yeah, it's like
it's All Time Low.
Yeah,
we know it's All Time Low. Or it's 5 Seconds of Summer.
Yeah, it's Hey Monday.
Yes.
Do you remember Hey Monday?
I forgot.
She's
about
a country singer now.
Really?
She has like a pretty decent career.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it's some like low. Oh, what's the other one? Boys Like Girls.
Yes.
Boys Like Girls are
like,
dying on the Titanic.
I love you. I never want to let you go. There's a song like that I think they sing.
What's the one that's throw it away, forget yesterday, we'll make the great escape. I feel like Taylor Swift would say she's on the Titanic, but then it turns out that she wasn't there the whole time.
Yeah, it's like
she was like fracking.
It's like Allison Williams' father, Brian Williams.
Yeah. Did he say he was on the Titanic?
He lied about being in like a warplane in Iraq.
That's funny.
He was like, yeah, I was there when it like went down or something. Like he was like, and then it was like revealed like a decade later that he wasn't. It's also really funny that my reference point is calling him Allison Williams' father.
Yeah. No, but I knew who you were talking about when you said that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, like her dad. I can picture him, but like, what's his name? Bob.
Yeah.
That's like, have you heard of Paula Abdul's like plane crash where she insists she's been in a plane crash and there's no record
It's
of it
like
ever
Jamila
happening.
Jamil. Like Jamila Jamil like getting stung by 1,000,000 bees 500 times. Jamila Jamil is surviving the Titanic and she's making it her whole thing.
Oh, it's her thing.
It's her thing.
It's her thing. Like she forgoes like feminism.
Yeah, and you know
it's just
what?
like
And
she's
also-
a boat girl
Yeah,
now.
and she's headlining JFL, so we better watch
Which
her.
is crazy. What's she gonna do?
Record
That's like
a podcast.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I'm like, okay, whatever.
I think
But
that's
no,
true.
I do think she's on it. I think she survives.
She survives.
And I think she like tries to help load the lifeboats and is unhelpful, but then like you know, like makes that her thing. She's like, I loaded the lifeboats on the Titanic.
And everyone's like, no, you didn't.
No, you actually did. You actually made it worse.
Yeah.
You kept putting dogs in the lifeboat and we asked you not to.
I feel like some male musician survives and he's like playing his guitar in the lifeboat and people are mad.
Ed Sheeran. That's Ed Sheeran.
Sorry, the person you're thinking of is Ed Sheeran.
It's Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Who you're thinking of. Or like,
He's going, she played the fiddle in an Irish band, but she fell in love with
She's
an
an
Irish
Irish
man. Yeah. Yeah. And on that note,
this has been Truthtanic.
I've been Carley.
I've been Blair.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Ahoy.
Bye-bye. Ahoy.